Back surgery is tough, but it doesn't have to be lonely. Here are 10 lessons that I've learned over 3 back surgeries that could change your approach to your recovery and hopefully make your journey a whole lot easier. My name is Carol, and this is the Spinal Surgery Survivalist channel. Now, over the course of these surgeries, I've learned a lot of really important and often surprising lessons that I really would have liked to have known from the start of my journey. So let's get started. Number 1, back issue symptoms seldom remain isolated in the back. Trying to pin down a diagnosis when it feels like your body is throwing you all these seemingly unrelated symptoms is incredibly frustrating, and it can take quite a while to actually get to the root cause of the issues that you're experiencing. Take my situation. Across the 3 surgeries, I had a whole load of different symptoms that varied from weakness and tingling in the foot and in the leg, to pain in the hips, the sciatica and the knees, to spasming and knots in the glute muscles, the neck and the shoulders. And although these symptoms seemed to be unrelated, it started to make a lot more sense considering the nerves and the muscles as running the body's power grid. So, the brain, being the control center of the body, sends these electrical signals down the spinal cord, which distributes it through the nerves, and these nerves then communicate with various parts of our body. When a nerve is damaged or disrupted, this can lead to a compromise of the messaging to a muscle, which will then lose function and power. And as a result of that, the neighboring muscles then begin to overcompensate. If this goes on for long enough, there can be a potential overloading of the system, which can look like muscle spasms as your body is trying to protect the nervous system. So think of your surgery as restoring your body's power grid. When you wake up, you will immediately feel relief from some of your symptoms. Others will take a little bit longer as damaged nerves begin to reknit and repair themselves, which can take a fair bit of time. And then some symptoms may not resolve themselves at all if there's been too much damage. For example, in my case, I have a loss of sensation in the skin running down the right side of my leg. But over time, you should start to feel significantly better than you did before your surgery. Number 2. Stay ahead of the pain in the first 2 to 4 weeks after your surgery. Please take your pain medication as it's prescribed in those first few weeks. And there's a very, very good reason for this, which I learned the hard way. Your body's been through a lot of trauma. Nerves have been worked on, and if there's one thing the nervous system hates, it's the spine being fiddled with. Okay, so as a result, it's going to be hypersensitive and prone to completely overreacting. And that overreaction is in the form of things like muscle spasms and restlessness. Now, I try to stretch out the period of time between taking my pain medication because I wanted to get off those opioids as quickly as possible. The problem was that I started developing these terrible muscle spasms every single time I tried to stand up. So I got back onto the time schedule that had been prescribed by the doctors, and it assisted me to rest more comfortably. Because also when you are experiencing pain, you're going to toss and turn because you're restless. And there's nothing worse for your recovery than you twisting while you're trying to sleep. That's not good for your back at all. Pain and inflammation are part of the process in the healing, but it doesn't mean you have to endure them unnecessarily in the periods of time where you have to keep them under control. The other thing, which I'm going to do a whole video on, is management of your pain medication, because you need to be the one vigilant to make sure that you're not overdoing your medication and that you're not developing dependencies. It's a huge topic. I'm not going to go through it in detail now, but please like and subscribe to keep up with the videos because there's some very, very important information I'll share with you on that. Number 3, celebrate every small sign of progress. Recovery can feel long and tough, and in those first few weeks after your surgery, you may not even recognize the body that you're in. And also, depending on your age and your circumstances and the condition of your body going into your surgery, or the different type of surgery that you've had, progress can look quite different each time. So my first 2 lumbar decompression surgeries, by 6 months, although I had a lot of stiffness still I would be dealing with, I actually felt like I was back to normal life, carrying on with things that I'd normally do. But this time with the fusion, at 6 months, I still feel like I've got quite a long way to go with my rehab. And although I'm doing a lot of activities that I would normally do, I have to sometimes slow things down, and sometimes it just feels like I'm taking 2 steps forward to take 1 back. I have to go regularly to the physiotherapist to loosen up and release stiff and sore muscles or spasming, and it's a lot more work to get back to the position that I was before than with those first 2 surgeries. I think the thing is that It's about changing your perspective that really helps you to cope through the recovery. And celebrating the small signs of progress is a really good way of looking at it. So for me, it looked like drying my legs for the first time after a shower without any help, or putting my socks on by myself for the first time. Or for me, a big one, at 8 weeks, I went back to the mountain reserve close by to me and I did my first 5-kilometer walk there. And it was slow and it was steady, but it was such joy being back to normal life. The small things really do become the big things after surgery. Number 4, the operation is only the start. The key to recovery is doing your exercises. You get to gain control over your recovery process by making a choice to do your exercises regularly. Not only are you going to improve the quality of your recovery, but you're also going to speed up the process to getting your life back. And trust me, that is going to be worth all the effort that you put in. My best advice for you is this. Start your rehab process in the weeks leading up to your surgery. And there are 3 main muscle groups that you should focus on: the quads, the glutes, and the core. And the reason that you're going to focus on those muscle groups is because they are going to bear all the load where your back muscles are now compromised. And for simple daily activities like getting in and out of bed and getting up and down from the toilet, trust me, you will be so grateful that you've strengthened those muscles when you're battling to do those simple tasks every single day. Then, when you get home from the hospital, do the exercises that the physiotherapist has given to you and follow the program that they have prescribed. After 6 weeks, when you've seen your surgeon, return to your physiotherapist and continue your rehab process. These exercises work, trust me. I'm working with my biokineticist at the moment to develop a set of videos that I'm going to put on this channel, which will guide you on building those muscles and working on them through the rehab process as well. So if you like and subscribe, you will be sure to keep up to date with this and also be able to share this information with other people. Get up and walk frequently. Walking is the cornerstone of your recovery. It activates the muscles, it loosens up the hips and the pelvis, and it starts to build your confidence and your balance. Now, the point is to get out of bed several times a day. And it doesn't matter if you're only taking a few steps at a time, or if you need a walker or someone to walk with you to make you feel a little bit more confident. That is fine until you start feeling confident enough to take your first steps on your own. But start off by walking to the bathroom and back a few times a day. Then start walking further to the kitchen and back. Then maybe step outside as soon as you feel comfortable. Take someone with you. Go for short walks around the block. Keep increasing the distance so that you start building and activating those muscles and getting your balance back. It is so important for your body to do so. The guideline that the physiotherapist gave to me was to try and achieve a 30-minute walk by week 4. That felt like a lot, but I was able to do it. But again, do whatever you can within your body's ability and within the limitations of your pain as well. I also found that an evening walk really did make me feel a lot better, and I rested so much better at night. And you know that those nights when you're not tossing and turning and twisting your spine are worth their weight in gold. Number 6, rest and sleep are vital for healing. Listening to our bodies is a daily choice. Initially, you'll probably find that you sleep and rest a lot because that's what your body will feel like doing. But as we start becoming more independent and more mobile, it's human nature to want to try and rush things and do more, because resting and sleeping start to feel quite unproductive. But it's important that we don't do too much activity without the necessary rest, because that can lead to aching and soreness in your body, which can disrupt your sleep. And eventually you might slow down or set back your recovery process, which is what I found happened in my situation. So rather embrace rest and sleep as a part of your recovery journey and enjoy it while you can, guilt-free. Number 7, prepare your life for surgery and recovery. When our mobility is limited, any aspect of our life where we can gain control and independence is so important to boost our morale. If you think about it, simple tasks like brushing your teeth, reaching for something like your reading glasses, or even taking a sip of tea or coffee can become so much more difficult than you can imagine. In my next video, I will cover this very important topic in a lot more detail, with the link below the video where you can go to download checklists for preparation so that you don't have to do the thinking for yourself. Lesson 8. Eat to nourish both the body and the mind. Now, I'll admit, when I had the second surgery, I was grumpy, I was resentful, I couldn't believe I was going through this whole process again. And as a result, every day at 5 o'clock, I poured myself a glass of wine and I helped myself to a handful of chocolates that people had dropped off as gifts. The problem is that when you have an incredibly irritated nervous system, the worst thing you can do is overstimulate it, and alcohol and sugar will certainly irritate that nervous system. This time I did things a little bit differently. Before going to hospital, I prepared some healthy, wholesome meals for the freezer, like soups and stews, and these were such a help when I returned home for those first couple of weeks when my mobility was at its worst. And every morning I'd have an easy-to-drink smoothie with fresh fruit, oat bran and protein powder. And not only were those filling, but they were a way of putting some great nutrients into my body at the start of the day. And when friends and family wanted to help, I asked them to rather bring around things like ready-made meals and fresh ingredients rather than wine and chocolates. Remember that your body is putting in so much effort and energy to heal itself, so fuel it to help it rather than to slow it down. Number 9, equip your caregivers to help you. Your surgery is going to affect everyone in the household, and depending on what you have done, you're going to need a lot of assistance in those first few weeks. Now, my husband Alistair has been amazing these last 8 years and done so much for me, for which I'm going to always be extremely grateful. But we learned early on that communication was key. I had to be practical about what I needed routinely and the help that I might need from time to time, and speak up when I needed something. And he had to also learn to tell me when he was feeling overwhelmed or stressed and he just needed a bit of a break. There's no point in any of us lying in bed stewing, thinking, oh, I wish that they realized that I'm going to have a shower now and I need help, or, I wish somebody would think to bring me a cup of tea. That's not going to work. Everyone's going to be stressed and more prone to arguing if we're not clear about what we need. Remember that this journey is extremely tough for them too. And they might not always get everything right according to what you want, but they deserve to be shown some grace and appreciation through this journey. Number 10, expect the unexpected. I've had a lot of conversation with people going through back surgeries, and a common theme across these conversations is that so many people experience this range of symptoms and have these experiences with their bodies in their recovery that they never expected and that came as a complete surprise. So the same was true for me. I'm not going to discuss these in a lot of detail because I do believe they warrant their own videos that I will release in time. But I want to take you through a few of the things that I experienced as a surprise, just to give you some indication of what I'm referring to. So one thing would be constipation from the opioid medication. Another, nerve irritation, so feeling like something is running across your feet or up your legs. The worst one by far for me was between weeks 6 and 12. The surgery, I had something called neuropathy. It's essentially like restless leg syndrome from the top of your head to the tip of your toes. So what it looked like for me was every morning at 1:30 in the morning, I'd be woken from my sleep with my body jerking and twitching uncontrollably. And that is because the nervous system is so irritated by everything that's been done to it that it's taking some time to settle down. So I'd have to get up, wrap myself in a really soft, fluffy blanket to try and calm down my body a little bit and go and lie down in another room. Another one is muscle atrophy, where suddenly one day you look at your muscles and you think, well, where have they gone? You seem to have lost all the tone in your muscles and you have to start building that again. Also emotional ups and downs, loads of those. It's a long process and you are going to feel great some days and just really down in the dumps on others. This topic is one of the main reasons why I decided to do this YouTube channel, because you don't know what you don't know, and being empowered with knowledge can take a lot of stress out of the whole experience. I have so much more to share to help people going through back surgeries to feel more informed, more prepared, and less alone on their journeys. I am not a medical professional, and everything I'm sharing here is based on my own lived experience. But my dream for the Spinal Surgery Survivalist channel is to become a hub of targeted, actionable information that also includes input from my medical team. If you like, subscribe, and comment, it will help other people who need it to also find this resource. Now, in my next videos, I will be covering the essentials of preparing for your hospital stay, as well as the tips and tricks for getting your home recovery ready. But enough about me. What has been the hardest or the most surprising part of your recovery journey? Please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your story. Thank you for watching. Here's to healing.